What's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Mix. It's daily fantasy sports picks and bets presented by Mayo MediaNet and powered by Jock Market, the daily new fantasy app where we make money. Yahoo! Download that bad boy for free. Use the promo code MMN. They're going to match your first $100 for free. If it's free, it's for me. And who am I? I'm your host. It's the big dude with the big mouth from the Big Apple. That's Big Johnny Stud, coming to you worldwide from Brooklyn, New York. As always, we are coming out the chair as always. You can see all my work at John Laghezza, Laghezza, on the Bird app. Same on Patreon. Don't worry, it is all free Tron for you and me, Tron. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the audio-only pod. Yes, other sites and shows are starting to lose gas. Not around here. Death, taxes, sun rising in the east, setting in the west, Bears making dookie in the woods, and the big man up before the crack of dawn to bring you this. It's the fastest show in NFL. Absolutely anywhere. We're using Run the Sims projections to bring you the best blue chip stocks. Man, we love that Jock Market app, baby. Those are the top projected players at each position. Then we're going to do a little cost analysis. Those are our penny stocks. And then I got a 6-pack of player props for you based on those same projections. I run the disparity between the median outputs and the lines. Let's just dive right up into it. Nobody doing more than we do. Oh my goodness. It's your blue chip stocks, brought to you by Jock Market. Audio only people. Feel free to hop on over to Twitter or YouTube to grab the screenshots. We put them together. Besides the fact they look a little snazzy, nice to have a nice little reference point, right? To just see everybody up next to each other, visualize without me yammering over it. Let's do it. It's the QBs. Again, so much work to do. I also added the opponents. Someone asked for that, and I tried to deliver. Patty Mahomes at the top against the Jacksonville Jaguars, projected for 25.5. Right below him, the new, everyone's new favorite QB, Justin Fields. A lot of people knew he was really good, but if you're following my waiver stuff, my speculator stuff, at The Athletic, we were on him that very first week going into Dallas before really the crowds were on it. I've been riding that wave, and I think it continues against the Lions. Then it's Kyler Murray against the Rams. Oh, I don't know. If Murray is banged up, I really worry about a quarterback like him if he's got a hamstring issue, not just for the running that we haven't necessarily seen a ton of. He uses the legs to create the space he needs to pass. So remember, this is a huge field on these main slates, and sometimes you have to take a stand where you're not going to go with it. So you're going to have to disagree with the projection. Sometimes I think when I have the validated argument, or at least the way I feel, I'm going to be feeding the Cardinals maybe that game outright. Just yuck. There's a ton of basura on the slate. All right, then it's Tua. Let's do a little bit of lesson here, and again, it's a little bit of more critical thinking, being understanding of the projections, and that they may be better at this than we are, but also being okay taking a stand against them. For example, Tua Tagovailoa, who looks incredible in that offense. I think people are kind of giving him a hard time. He's not as good as those numbers. Yeah, he's part of a great system. He's very accurate. Maybe the long ball isn't as muscular as we may want it to be, but he's very, very good. And again, QBs are a system, function of the system, the continuity with the teammates, but also between the coaching staff and the play callers. So to take off like this, right? Think of Brady and Belichick, not necessarily the most talented bunch, but you get the most out of it when you have that, symbiosis going on. If we get that with the Dolphins, they're awesome. 20-point projection for Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, feels a little bit low when you're looking at the field. Next up, I have not touched these. It's Case Keenum, projected for the same exact projection as Tua, right? Spare 0.10. We don't overreact to that. Against the Vikings, who have been a mixed bag. They're not terrible on defense. So Case Keenum projected for 20 points. Tua Tagovailoa against the Browns defense, also projected for 20 points. Yeah, that's going to be one of these places I'm going to be taking a stand. The Browns defense has improved as of late. Season stats probably going to get you in more trouble than not, but nobody is covering these Dolphins right now. The Browns play a ton of zone, and we've talked about this in the show. Again, I like to mix X's and O's with the analysis, plus the digestion of projections, and then finally the application, because I think that's how you get there. The speed with the Dolphins wide receiver room, yes, great. Like, that's like the simple analysis. But the truth of it is, they're able to go left to right laterally and cross zones, and they create transfer confusion. And you get it every week. You see it, man. Tyreek takes at least 2 people to cover. Waddle takes at least 1.5. There just aren't enough people on the defense. So how can Tua be projected the same as Case Keenum? I don't know. You'll have to ask the really smart people at the projection systems, but I'm taking my stand there. So blue chips, man. Give me, Mahomes, of course, is a GOAT. I'm going to get some shares of Fields and maybe Tua, but other than that, the blue chips, I'm going to leave them alone. I also might want to start getting into shorting. I haven't begun really recommending that. I like to think this is the preeminent Jock Market show, and probably our answer, right? Again, we want to smash the buy button in the value section. We'll get to that. But what do you want to do when prices are too high? You want to undercut that. You want to bear. You want to go bearish. You want to short. You want to sell short. I don't know if we're going to be able to explain that. We'll make that one of the lessons at the end of one of the days here, the understanding of it. Not everyone gets it. And I don't want to recommend it until I do it successfully, but that would be the players you want to do it on, right? I'd be looking to short, Case Keenum. If he gets juiced up, that's where we're going to go. Let's get into the running backs. It's Saquon Barkley, one of the highest projected players on the slate, outright against the Texans, who have just gotten annihilated. The Texans' run defense is just one of the worst in the world. This is last for their dead last in rush EPA per snap on defense. It's 34 rushes for 207 yards per game, last 4 games. Yikes. 6 yards per rush against these Texans. Barkley bound to go off and followed up by Kamara. Pittsburgh does have Watt going back. I think I stepped on a rake going after New Orleans. I like to be very transparent. I have money on the Saints spread. We missed a point, although it's still under a field goal. That was why I grabbed it. So I have the Saints by a field goal of the Steelers. TJ Watt is back. I was playing chicken with that. You got to do with that what you will. I think as long as Andy Dalton is the quarterback, Alvin Kamara has a ceiling to be the RB1, so you get with him for sure. Then it's Derrick Henry against Denver. The Denver defense is pretty good. They've been weaker against the run than the pass. My problem is the one-dimensional nature of it. They're leaning towards possibly Tannehill might play. The Titans have been very close to the vest. I'm not investing in anything Titans with Malik Willis. I'm not interested in that. Then it's Travis Etienne, projected for that north of 20 points as well against KC, who's been pretty good. I think I will talk about it a little bit. I think Etienne certainly has a place in daily because you'll need the mix of passing points, right? The points gotten from the passing game, you'll need that if you're going to run with Etienne. We'll get to that at the very last section when we do that. Prop plays. Let's wrap it up. Running backs with Nick Chubb against Miami. Again, the problem with Chubb is he can get scripted out. Miami's run defense has been okay the last month. 25 attempts, that's 127 yards on the ground. That's like middle of the pack. Minus 0.04 EPA per rush snap. Again, that's probably like bottom 8, allowing 5 yards per rush. But they're getting to the running back early. So one of the stats I like to look at is yards before contact per rush, and they're very good at that. That's in like the top 8 or the top 10 at 1.4. So they're getting to that running back, then they just have to close the deal. Again, problem with Chubb is getting scripted. You could see Chubb having a very good start to the game, but as Miami begins to pace themselves from the Browns, you see them getting away from Chubb. That just always how they've been to it. So as much as I like him, I think he's one of the best pure runners in the game. Nick, if you're happy to be watching, like, you'd be the running back I'd want first to get me, on a game-winning drive, but he gets scripted out. I hate to pay for it. Not sure if I'm going to short it, because if the Browns keep it close, it's on the back of Chubb. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp projected at the very top. They're talking about John Woodford playing. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is an easy short for me, for sure. I understand when we get backup QBs, they still tend to hyper-focus on the wide receiver ones, so it's not like Kupp is going to disappear. But if he ends up in like the double digits, you can't go there. You can't go there. And Arizona has been very good against number ones as well. I think only one player is going to run. Actually, 2. Jefferson and Olave hit 98. I was marked for 100, but I'm not going to do you like that. I would never do you like that. So I don't know if, not say I don't know if Kupp is the receiver Jefferson is. I don't know if that connection with the backup is that. So that got to give you at least a little bit of trepidation. It's got to give you at least a little bit of worry. I don't know, I'm not sure how how it wouldn't. So I'm going to get away from that in the backups. And it's Tyreek Hill projected for 22.5, Justin Jefferson at 20, D-Hop 19, Stephon Diggs 19, catching balls from Case Keenum. That's another perfect short opportunity there for me. Minnesota defense, again, mixed bag. Last 4, very strong against the run, weaker against the pass. However, what are you going to get from Case Keenum? I mean, and part of the lure to the Buffalo attack, I mean, come on, am I going to have to sell you how important Josh Allen is? That it's not just the arm, it's the threat of the run, and then the 1 + 1 = 3. While he threatens the run, you bring in, right, he gets a collapse on him, he pulls back, goes over. He's very, very tough to defend. There is a world of difference, orders of magnitude between Josh Allen and Case Keenum that this is me pushing up against the system. So I'm off the Bills. I'm not touching the Bills. I'm not recommending the Bills. And if Keenan and or Diggs end up really expensive, expect me to short the Bills. You know, we know it can go south on any given day, right? I'm not sure. I'm not really going to get pushback on that. As good and consistent as Diggs has been, I mean, probably the best receiver in the game. He's really only flopped against Baltimore, but it does happen. Tight ends, this one's easy. It's Kelsey, it's Hockenson, and Ertz. Kelsey with a wide margin on the field at 19.7 with good reason. I do like the Jacksonville defense, but I don't think anyone has an answer for Kelsey. To TJ Hockenson, who stepped right into a prominent role against a Buffalo defense, again, that's very good, right? So we got to be careful. This is why I try and add all the context with the split stats and stuff, and in the advanced stats if I can. Because, right, Buffalo defense, good, right? If you're going to go binary, it's good. They don't allow points and some of the things that ring there. But it's kind of the style. They are the bend but don't break. Check it out, last 4 games. They're allowing 365 yards a game, 5.9 yards per play, 39 yards per drive, 3 minutes and 23 seconds per drive. Those are all in the bottom 5. 150 rush yards a game, 5.4 yards per rush, allowing 21 completions per game. It's all underneath, though. That's the thing. The Bills won't get beat deep. They play a ton of zone. So where you could see them catching a bracket and 2-man on Jefferson, looking for the shutdown, I think Hockenson is the hit here. I think Hockenson is the hit, especially in Jock market. Tight ends generally don't get priced where maybe they should be when they're a main focus of the offense. Hockenson just went bananas. I could not believe the kind of usage and role that he stepped into. I didn't see it coming, but hey, man, we get another swing at that, right? Grab the axe. We'll get another chance to chop down the tree. So that'll do it for the blue chip section. Again, it's Mahomes, it's Fields, and it's Tua. For me, it's Barkley, it's Kamara, and ATN. Wide receivers, it's Tyreek Hill. And that's pretty much it for the blue chips. So I'm more bearish on these blue chips, right? So when we start to instill shorting, we're going to start making money both ways in the market. I think that's going to be the next wave. You could see the wheels start to spin already. And then tight ends, it's Kelsey, but it's price dependent. You got to kind of stuff them in. I'd much rather have Hockenson with price factored, right? With price factored. Again, in a vacuum, I think Kelsey greater than sign Hockenson. Ertz, I don't know, again, hurt Murray, stumbling Murray. This one feels like it could be a stinker. Everyone is getting on the Cardinals, which is exactly when I like to get away from them, even though we're sharing that schnazzy red. All right, man. The ball is firmly past the midway point. Let's get it up into the red zone. Penny stock section upcoming, but first, let the big man catch a big breath. All right, here we go. Penny stock section, the second pillar of profit, brought to you by Jock Market. Again, if you're new to this, I know it can be a bit overwhelming. This is one we seriously recommend going to Twitter at John Laghezza or at Mayo Media Network. Grab these images. We put them out for free, as always. Speaking of which, don't cost you a thing to press that like button, man. Stick your cartoon finger up inside me if you did learn it. I try and beg for it once a section because these things matter more than they should. Enough of that. Let's dive into it. Case Keenum and Justin Fields are the best value if you're buying the projection. Remember, here's our lesson as always. Price does not necessarily equal value. Just because something's cheap doesn't make it a value. It is tied to expectations of return. Therefore, it's a rate stat. Okay, so Case Keenum coming in at 5K. Yeah, if you think he's getting 20 points and he's coming in at a 250 cost per point, then you go get him. The thing that's more attractive than anything is here also, again, for the audio-only people, it's salary, cost per point, ownership, and IPO. You know, all the stuff. We're trying to mix all of these games together, bringing you to the right tip of the spear here at Mayo Media Net. So, Case Keenum, though I'm not buying the point projection, I think he's a play in DFS because of the 1% ownership, where I would not touch him in Jock Market because of the 736 IPO. Justin Fields, I'm absolutely buying the 23-point projection at 6.5. So the cost per point is close. I don't want $30 at this point is a little bit off, right? You're talking 10%. So I'm not going to skew the numbers to make my own point. But it's still under 300, which is a smash. Ownership at 17, which is reasonably high, I guess, relatively high, I should say, for a quarterback. But it's not high enough to get thrown off, right? Be careful. Leverage matters. I'm never going to undersell the importance of leverage in conventional, daily play. However, man, don't get too sucked into it. You need the best plays, right? Don't let go of the best plays. So Fields, like him across the board, 781 IPO even feels a bit slim. Travis Etienne, I like the point projection. My problem is I see these projections and how they're split. And I think that's why I've been so worrisome. I've sounded so tentative on Etienne. It's really high in rush yards. And I'm worried Kansas City gets ahead and they're not rush yards. So though, here's a tease. Travis Etienne's name popped up on the prop plays, right, based on disparity. I'm a bit worried that his points that I do believe in come from the passing game. So Etienne at KC with the 7.1, 353 cost per point. The 19% ownership is a little high, the $8 IPO. You could see where with the worry that where I can kind of get away from it. Again, IPOs, I like to assume they're going to be a bit higher than these projected. These are right off the site. Again, I try not to manipulate anything. Everything here is transparent, and we'll kind of hash it out, from there. Dameon Pierce against the Giants, 18-point projection, 6.3 with the lovely 353. Here's a lesson about value, though I like Dameon Pierce. Alvin Kamara, 21-point projection, 7.4, exactly the same cost per point, but he has got half of the ownership, right? So Pierce, so I like him. I didn't want to knock it. I wanted to get to the end to explain it. Pierce, the cost per point is phenomenal. The 31% ownership is like, no thank you. But the 638 IPO is really palatable. So that's the best points that we can make. It's much less about the player than the application. Is Dameon Pierce a good play? Well, I don't know. What game are we talking about? So I don't think he's a great play in DFS. I do think he's a good Jock Market play. So I like the 638. Anybody that comes in underneath that even 666 is a good shot because we know he's going to be focused to get the rock. It's not like the Giants create separation with point scoring. So this one could just be like Pierce and Barkley pinballing off each other. But the lesson again to Kamara, though he's more expensive, the cost per point's the same when you get half the ownership. So for DFS, I'd rather go with Kamara and find room because the pace is the same. But for the IPO is $1.40 higher. Now, where I generally would not have worried in this past month, the thing that worries me is the TJ Watt. I'm not going to look to pay a premium until I see, right? You just can't ignore how they've been a different team. He's a very good player, but there's also like some spiritual leadership going on, right? He's the rising tide. Pittsburgh is a lot tougher with Watt in there. We've seen the Saints offense bottom, though I think Kamara has a high PPR floor regardless. You can see where, and then when I start getting money from me, it's just easy to say, no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. The wide receivers are Kupp, Zay Jones, Amari Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Rondale Moore. Kupp, again, I can't touch it. If you're buying straight numbers, the 9K is still a value because he's coming in 355 cost per point, 13 ownership, 894 IPO, too rich for my blood with a backup. Zay Jones, I think I've been making money on him in Jock Market, but you're not going to get paid on Zay Jones in DraftKings or FanDuel. So he's a perfect example of, if he gets to 12 points at 4.4 salary, 372 cost per point, he's worth it. 11% ownership is a bit too high for Zay Jones because I don't think the probability of that happening is there. But a $3 IPO is a great discount. Again, against the Chiefs defense, it's almost similar to the Bills in style. They play a ton of zone, and they'll just allow the completions and they'll allow the passing yards. Opposition quarterbacks have a 99 passer rating against the Chiefs last 4. 2 40 yards per game. And again, Jacksonville's been weak as well. This one could shoot. So that's where you want the chance at it. But 11% ownership kind of speaks to that already. Enough people are on that. $3 IPO doesn't represent the same level of ownership that the 11% does, double digits does. So double digit do. So whatever. There's the last piece of application for it. That so Cup, no thank you. Zay Jones is a jock market play. Cooper, I think we go across the board because he's got the sub 400 cost per point, 10 ownership, 5 IPO. So that's a check, check, check with the 6.5 DK box. So everything, that's a check across the board. Give me Cooper everywhere. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 18 threes is very similar to Cooper, almost dead on. The salary in DK is $400 more, but you get the extra point projection. So the cost per point, 375 to 377, that's exactly the same. The problem is Amon-Ra gets a touch more ownership, which is okay. I could stomach 14 to 10. The beef here is the IPO. Amon-Ra is super popular in jock market. Expect to have a $9 IPO. Think about that. That's another, just as been like boom, 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 feather sticking in the cap. If you're into it, playing jock market, this is the time to do it. If you haven't played yet, this is the slate to get on it. And for all these reasons why. You're going to get exposure to the best players according to the sharpest people, but they're just not being represented properly per share in IPO, right? That's part of the sharpness that comes with jock market, and also not having to hit a 19 parlay to make money, which is kind of insane because it's very hard to do. It's much easier to buy a share of Zay Jones, have him catch 5 balls. You make 25% on it, and just kind of go on with your day. Again, that's what we're into. It's being sustainable in betting is very difficult. I'd love to say, because I'm good at analysis, like I'm excellent at predicting the outcomes. I'm not. It's not how it works, man. You put yourself in a strong probabilistic scenario in order to succeed. But you have to understand you need to give yourself enough wax at the tree for it to fall down. In order to do that, you need a proper risk plan to keep enough money in your pocket to keep losing if you do. So just everything that we're doing here. Again, I care about you, and I don't want to mislead anybody. So if you're going to play, there's going to be losing, but we can try and mitigate these things and be smart and proper in our approach. And that's some of the best feedback I've gotten. People just being like, "Wow, I can't unsee the things that I'm seeing here." So Amon-Ra, love him. The Sun God is the GOAT. Probably going to do work against the Bears, but I'm going to have a hard time getting with him in jock market. Rondale Moore, every time I seem to chase him, I seem to get smoked. But the salary down to 5.2 opens up a pathway if you're buying it. But I have my worries about Murray. Here's another one too. Value lesson incoming. 5.2 salary for Rondale, but a 13-point projection. He has the highest cost per point of every single player that we've mentioned. So if you do subscribe to these projections, Johnny, I like your style. I think you're funny, but I'm going to let the numbers do their own thing. So be it. You should do that if that's how you feel. Then Rondale Moore is not a value, right? Even if he's low. So there's something to be said for jamming him in. But why wouldn't you go with Jones? Zay Jones is $800 cheaper. The 1-point disparity in projection, but you have a much better cost per point, plus the edge in ownership, Moore at 15, Zay Jones at 11, Rondale Moore with a 424 IPO. That's a bit more palatable. Anything under 5, because remember, you do get $1 back on every share in case you're unfamiliar. Again, why I always suggest newbies start with the main slate. So when you see 424 for Rondale Moore, 267 for upcoming for Foster Moreau, you get $1 back from that. So I like that they make players kind of front those shares, like you have to have the cash to play the game, but you're going to get $1 back. So with $1.67 for Moreau, who plays like every single snap, the Raiders have just been so disappointing. The Colts defense has also been pretty good. They're an extreme zone play. I think that's top 3. Colts have run zone 72% of the time last 4 games. Allowing, right? So what do you get? You get the 25.8 attempts, 19 completions, 162 pass yards. So they've reduced that. Completion percentage is very high, but they're allowing these really low ADOT stuff around the line of scrimmage. So I guess that could work for Moreau. It's just been a mess. Here's the lesson. You can get with that for an IPO of 267 and really feel like there's not much risk for a guy that if he falls into the end zone twice against the Colts, which we're expecting to be completely lost with a new coach that has no experience. I think Jeff Saturday, I think an offensive lineman is one of the better people to step into a disaster, understanding where like the nuke went off, which is at the point of attack. So maybe I'm a bit more bullish than the market, but they also don't have a quarterback, and their star running back is banged up. Like they're in a lot of trouble. And if they do make some mistakes, you're going to get the Raiders in some nice spots. But is it going to be Moreau? I don't know. The problem is, in DraftKings, his salary is so much more similar, right, to guys like Dulcich. I think I'd much rather have, because he's just more explosive. We just haven't seen it from Moreau at all. Like I said, I think the usage, I know the usage was there. I saw it today. Just it almost he might be one of those like 100% snap guys. He had 98% of snaps the last 4 weeks, running a route on 86% of dropbacks, which is phenomenal. However, he's only earned 19 targets, 94 routes. So that's not that great. 1.1 yards per route, 6.1 air yards per target, 7 PPR points per game from Moreau at that point. So I just feel like you're going to get more of that, where Dulcich, I feel like, is a bit more explosive. But you can get with Moreau and IPO. Again, just the last bit of application. So that will do it for the penny stocks. If Fields or any player ends up on both lists, there it goes. So give me Fields, give me ATN, give me Kamara being on both lists. I like Amari Cooper across the board. I'm fading Amon-Ra in conventional DFS, but I'm going to get and Jock Market. Amari Cooper is my across-the-board play. Sorry, I'm fading Cooper Kupp. I might look to short that. I think with a backup QB, the floor is quite literally 0. And if he's going to cost $9, I think there's a great shot he doesn't finish there. So, all right, that is it for the penny stock section. Please hit the like button if you like any of this stuff. If you thought any of it is cool, if you learned something, any of the... Gosh, everything we're bringing, man. It's like I said, it's projections, it's analysis, it's X's and O's, hopefully even a joke or two. And that will do it. Let's get the ball up into the goal area here, the goal to go. I want to punch this in because I really feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. I want to dance the night away. All right, now that the show is firmly getting off the rails, let it get up into these player props that I got for you. But first, a break. Okay, let's do it. It's our Week 10 player props brought to you by Jock Market. The lovely ladies and gentlemen at the Mayo Media Net. I was just running disparities. Again, I like to be very clear about this. If you'd like to see my live ticket, I get that a lot. My live ticket is on Patreon. A lot of times it's very similar, right? So I'm never mislead. These are the greatest disparities from projections to the board. A lot of times I use that. However, I'm very, very clear. These are what's posted. Alt props come out later and later every week. I like alt props. Here's a perfect example. Look at the juice on these. Okay, so let's blow through it real fast, and then as we do it, we'll learn our lessons. I got Nick Chubb over 77.5. I think he's projected over 100 yards or close to 100 yards. If you're a projections guy, you got to go out again. I got to list them. I'm worried about the game script. I'm very upfront. But if this is an exercise, he's working out. Then it's ATN, also projected for above 90 rushing yards. Again, as much as I like ATN, I'd rather look for one of those like fantasy point props because he's so dangerous as a dual threat. You hate to be on a star player in a one-sided prop, right, rush or receiving, and have them go off and you not get it, right? That's the stuff we want to avoid. Now, if you're a projection guy or girl, which is fine, then we get into why the odds are the beef here. You haven't projected for close to 100. The prop here is 80.5. So we're going to hit it. But at minus 115 odds, now you need to hit, 58% of these things in order to profit. So if you have an even number and you hit half, you're going home a loser. Where if you just take all these players, and again, I have not done this, I do a lot. There's a lot of work incoming. Right, I'm splitting, I'm doing all types of stuff. Check it out on Patreon, same handle as Twitter. But again, it's free. I'm not shilling, it's free. I'd like to teach. Take the alt prop, and put a plus in front of these, where now you just need to hit half of them and you could profit. And that's really it. So it's Nick Chubb, again, GOAT, over 77.5. Travis Etienne, over 80.5. He has been smashing that, getting just all of the work. He has been You know, people dissed on him for the size and stuff, and that'll maybe be a lesson going forward. That was probably just a rookie learning. He's got to learn schemes. He's got to prove his mettle, and now this is it. You know, 15 carries in week 7, turned to 27 in week 8, turned to 30 in week 9. He has had 109 rushing yards minimum each of the last 3. He's super explosive. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he can't go over the 80. I just would rather look for him to go over 90 and go for plus 130 or plus 140. Those are the bets that I'm waiting for. Then it's Saquon Barkley against the Texans. He's another perfect example. Like his line is set at over 93.5 at minus 115. I don't know. I guess it seems fair enough. He's a pop for 105. You know, go for the 100. Go for the 100. If he hits it, they're a pop. He's a pop to go for 200. Right? Then over, so those are 3 rushing overs. Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Saquon Barkley. Again, audio-only listeners, there's a snazzy graphic up here. Then it's Najee Harris. Pump the brakes. This is our first under. I got to start doing unders. I said to myself, looking around, I don't know. The Steelers stink. Najee Harris stinks. I guess I should take that back. I hate doing that. I'm sorry, Najee. He's hurt. He's got a bad foot. And, like, you think a running back would need his feet. I mean, the rushing totals are just terrible. 32 yards against Philly. He had 42 against Tampa, 20 against Buffalo, 49 in New England, 23 at Cincinnati. So he's only going over this. I've got under 42.5, and a lot of this is stemming from Tomlin was very clear that it's Najee Harris. It looks Najee Harris is going to be taking a bit of more of a back seat to Jalen Warren, somebody I've had stashed all season. I'm excited. He was a big best ball pick for me as well. Huge disparity here, right? So Najee Harris getting to work 67% of the snaps, 33% of the team rushes the last 4 games. However, 4 yards per rush, 1.5 yards before contact, 2.5 after, 25% success rate, 12.5 explosive rush rate. Okay, Jalen Warren. 8.3 yards per rush, 2.8 yards before contact, 5.5 yards per rush after, 50% success rate, 33% explosive rush rate. So, with all good reason, it's Warren. We're watching the flippening, so these are perfect time to go under Harris. I think Harris needs the full load to get to this 42. He's not going to get it. He's going to catch some balls, so go under Najee Harris, 42.5 rushing yards. Then it's Jalen Waddle. He's another good one. I don't know why you pay minus 120 to go over this 69.5. Just be patient. Smash the alt prop. I mean, we mentioned it. The zone will be in effect for the Browns. That's all they do. The Dolphins have become experts at cutting up the zone, and in particular are using it, having a hyper focus, I should say, on the top 2 receivers. So this is Waddle going back 4 games, 129, 88, 106, and 85. He missed 1 in Cincinnati before that, 102 and 171. So he's another perfect example why 69.5 is way too low. You can get 80, you'll get 80 at plus 140, you'll get 90 at plus 205, and there's another great lesson before we get out of here. I'm going to earn that like button no matter what I do, man. Give me a 5-star review, pretty please, with sugar on top. All right, enough of that nonsense. Take a bet. Okay? I don't care if it's $10, $100, $1,000. We're all different, but percentages matter, okay? Don't trust the fugazis that talk in totals. Trust the fat guys that talk in percentages, all right? Whatever your R is, let's say it's $10. Rather than putting $10 on a minus 120, which is kind of silly, put $8 on the minus 120. Put 0.1 on the plus over, plus 80. Put 0.1, on the plus 90. So if it was $100, it's 80, 10, and 10. If it's $10, it's 8, 1, and 1. If it's $1,000, 800, 100, 100. Give yourself the chance with minimal risk to blow up on these bets. Or you just bet 20 instead of the 100. You take 0.2 R, right, which is what I do because I'm such a cheap effer, and just put 20 R on the mid alt, right? So in this case, instead of 70 is the flat one, then it's 80, 90, and 100. You put 0.2 or $20 on the 90, it's going to be 205, and you look to profit that way. Again, this stuff really, really matters. Plan of attack, greater than sign, everything. My DK, FD, conventional players will tell you contest selection, right? So this is our version of contest selection with prop play. These things work inside Jock Market as well. All of these players, the overs at least, are plays. Then let's wrap it up with Juju Smith-Schuster, 63. This one sounds a lot like Waddle. He's just going over. It's a prolific offense. I mean, give me that stuff. I want the strong contextual environment. I always feel like if Kansas City got up, Juju had something to do with it. And if they get behind, he's going to have something to do with it going forward. Last 3 games, he's going ham. He's had 5, 7, and 10 catches for a $113, 124, and 88, all firmly over the 63.5 and firmly over the old prop. So this one is 63.5. You probably get the all prop at plus 70 or plus 75. I might even like the plus 80 if it has a 200. So like, listen, people, that's how you do it. I'm always beating a dead horse because we do end up with new listeners. So hopefully you all picking up what we're putting down, and that will do it. Wow. Wowza. Is there anything like this anywhere? I don't think so. Analysis, projections, prop play, DFS, Jock Market. Gosh, goodness gracious, theorem, right? and me acting ridiculous. Like, where can you get it, man? Please download the Jock Market app. Use the promo code MMN. First $100 matters, okay? That $100 is more than enough to do damage. And I think that's why that second section, the penny stock section matters so much. We're laying out players that are at $5 or less. Remember, you get $1 back, so it's a $4 true dollar cost or less with a possibility for big return. That penny stock sheet has done excellent in Jock Market. DraftKings, it's anybody's guess because it's a 19 parlay and you need all the ceiling plays, and so if you don't have Joe Mixon, you lose, right? That's not the case in Jock Market. Joe Mixon eats up the first spot, fine, no doubt. That's fine. Now, he deserved it, and so do you if you had those shares. But that's where it ends. And again, Jock Market, greater than sign, conventional play, and why I hope in a year or two it will be, the standard and at the 4, because I believe these decisions should stand on their own, right? And that's what matters. Enough smart decisions, you should be a winner in 19 parlay play. It's not 2 zeros out, 3 zeros definitely out. Laghezza, nada. In Jock Market, not the case. 3, you're gonna have half of your plays could be 0, maybe more. And you can still make money. And again, just all the lessons, everything. Rate, review, and subscribe. Comment below. Hit me up on Twitter. I really care about you guys. I love hearing from the people. I've been making some friends. And that's really what it's all about. People trying to crack into the business. You've got work you want me to look at. I'd be glad to do it. I really, everything I've gotten, I like to kind of take that force, and magnify it and push it back. So, all right, rate, review, and subscribe. Hit the like button. All that gravy stuff. Yeah, that's it, man. Enjoy the main slate. I think we're set to make some money here. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Patreon. The cost CLV model is rocking and rolling, doing all the things that we do, me and you, the Cork Stats crew. All right, yo, I'll catch you on the flip side. Remember, when you work this hard, it feels a lot less like luck, yo. Peace.